What do climate change, gender, and forestry have to do with each other? Our interview guest today will tell you. Catherine Mungai works with CGIAR, a global research partnership for a food-secure future in Nairobi. Her main goals are how to protect the most vulnerable in society from the effects of climate change and how to convince people in Africa that they themselves will have to take action against global warming. We caught up with the Kenyan environmentalist in Nairobi.
My name is Catherine Mungai. What I'm going to tell you about the impacts of climate change is going to be focusing mainly on the agriculture sector and also how this affects the food and security nutrition components of the country. We can no longer predict when the rain is going to fall, and this has affected our farming activities, so the farmers do not know when they can farm, when they can plant their crops, when to harvest, and this has been quite a challenge for the farmers. So the impacts have become more extreme. So when it rains, the rains have become heavier. When it becomes dry, the dry seasons are now becoming hotter and they're lasting longer. And all these have an impact on the smallholder farmers and also to some extent the commercial farmers. Generally, you find that women have a huge role to play in terms of taking care of the families. So, and even when you look at the smallholder farmers in Kenya, you find that most of them are women, to some extent also youth. But in this particular case, when you look at it from the women perspective, we find that they're the ones who bear the brunt of climate change. For example, if they're the ones who have to provide water for the families, you find that they have to go walk further to look for water to get back to the families. We have the issue of rural-urban migration, and in most cases it's the men, young men, older men who tend to migrate. So they leave the women behind, and the women are the ones who have to continue with the agricultural practices. We are working together with other research institutions to test livestock, sheep and goats that are also resistant to climate change and also can be a source of food. We also encourage them to do, to plant different kinds of crops on their farms, so they have a diversity of crops. So if one crop fails, at least they're able to rely on another crop as a source of food. In most cases, you find that they have a close relationship with nature, and also, so they are able to give, in terms of indigenous and local knowledge. Women are sources of this kind of information. Women are also nurturing in nature. They are also good at adopters and adapters of climate smart technologies and practices. So we find women are they're always willing to learn new things. So, and they share information. So if a woman attends a meeting, when she goes back home, you'll find that she's going to tell her husband and and even the children what could have transpired in the meeting. It's important to involve them in, when we're discussing climate change adoption, climate change mitigation.